What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we get to talk about something very, very cool, like a dragon pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. It was formally announced today, and may I just say, thank the freaking Lord, because we saw Yakuza Wars, and, that is a thing that's coming, the mobile game, and, it's something that we've kind of thought might have been taking the place of, like, an actual, like, a dragon game that was going to be announced today. So I'm just super, super happy that not only do we get what we got, and we're going to talk about that, but that it's not a mobile game. Okay, that really, really makes my day. So, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, Majima is back as he's leading a game. Didn't we just hear that Majima can't lead a game because of, the way he is? They didn't want it to, like, kind of send a message to, like, the youth. There was, like, a line that they said specifically why Majima can't be a lead. Now, maybe that's because, or maybe they were talking about a more, like, streamlined, like, like a Dragon 9 or whatever. Like, they can't have him lead one of those games, like a mainline game, because this is a spin-off. It's 6 months after Infinite Wealth that you can kind of see, because they retell a little bit of the events of, Infinite Wealth. They say that, some of the crew is there. So, I don't know, do we get to see Ichiban, towards the end of the game? I think that's very, very possible. But they're also going with memory loss. They're kind of mixing, like, the man who erased his name. This is the man who forgot his name. Now you're on the seas, so instead of, like, an Ishin thing, now you're doing a pirate thing. I love it. I freaking love it. And I think, much like we've come to expect from them, they are doing the asset flipping to the max, and they're doing it in the best way possible. They are the masters of asset flipping, right? So now you got Majima in Hawaii as one of the 3 places, but you also got 2 other places. And they didn't emphasize it too much in the actual gameplay, but when they were talking about it, they did talk about how sailing was, like, really important. Like, you're going to be sailing the open seas and discovering these new places quite often. So I would not be surprised if there's all of these, like, mini islands or, just, like, patches of dirt or sand, and you go over there and, there's a side quest or whatever it might be. And, they talked about that too. Obviously, a whole new slate of not just mini games, they talked about, and some of them are returning ones, right? Karaoke obviously is back, amongst other things. Crazy Delivery. But you also have, like, the new side quests or, like, sub quest type things. And then the idea of the story, right? He forgot who he is. He doesn't know how he got there, and he doesn't know his name. So it kind of, and he's retelling the story from 6 months later. So maybe it's even like a unreliable narrator thing where, like, are those things actually happening? Well, he's literally retelling the story, and we know, like, can he exaggerate? Of course he can, you know what I mean? Like, so it can kind of get wild. So I'd be interested, like, can we fight, like, a Kraken-like thing? There was, like, a shark that was shown in the cutscene kind of trailer thing they were doing, and we've faced big sea creatures before. We just faced a giant shark, in Infinite Wealth, but I wonder, like, could we face, like, a literal giant squid, like a Kraken? And it doesn't even have to be real, right? Because he's telling the story. He can be exaggerating. He could be adding parts that aren't actually in there. I love it. I freaking love it. I love the gameplay. 2 different styles, right? His Mad Dog style and then kind of his, like, new pirate style. And you can tell even the more piratey, like, they show it a lot when he was on the ship. Like, he's got the 2 cutlass swords. He's got the pistol and all that stuff. It still very much seems like an extension of his base gameplay, which I really like, right? They're kind of keeping that core of his more, like, acrobatic, almost like breakdance like style, right? That we've seen throughout the whole, we've faced him like 1,000 times. We've played as him even, and we're able to use that style, right? So to be able to use all that stuff and kind of switch it over or organically, move it in the next direction, and add swords to it instead of his dagger. Or his dagger, is the Mad Dog style. So you can have his dagger, but you can also have swords. I think it's going to be so much fun. And I like this kind of back and forth we're doing with, like, the man who erased his name was this kind of gameplay. Then we went back to the turn-based, which we did, I guess, right before them. So really, it was turn-based, not turn-based, turn-based, not turn-based. Like, that's the pattern that we're going. And the game coming out. So the game comes out February 28th. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's getting a collector's edition, which I don't keep up too much with the collector's editions of these Yakuza games, but I guess it's the first one in quite a while for the series, so that's great to see. It doesn't look, I don't know, like a pirate flag is kind of cool. The acrylic standee is kind of cool, but I don't know, it doesn't look that, like, there's no statue. I would have really liked, and we don't know the price. There is no price for the collector's edition right now, but if you gave me a Majima statue with him with those two swords with that pirate hat, oh my dear God, I would have done that. But, the collector's edition is what it is, and then they're actually doing it physically. That's another really big part I want to emphasize. So, Man Who Erased His Name, not physical, and I think hopefully they learned from that, and not only do you get the physical version or base game in the collector's edition, but you also can pre-order it physically, as well. So that's something I definitely want to look into because, physical preservation, something we've talked a lot about, and I'm glad to see them, this is later where as time has gone on, more people are still buying things digitally, right? So it's later than The Man Who Erased His Name, and maybe they did really learn from that they heard the outcries. I made even videos on it, and so that's something you really, really like to see. And then again, as to that release date, I mean, I really we kind of do know how they're able to do it, but you can also kind of say, for the shock value that we don't understand, how it's kind of both, right? Like, how are they doing it? And yet they kind of have told us how they're doing it, but no, they are masters at this. They have released so many. I think it's 5 games in 5 years. It's unbelievable, the speed. And really, again, a lot of it does come down to asset flipping in the best ways. We know they have teams of people, and they do basically the same thing for each game. So if you're doing X mini game in one game, you're going to be doing that mini game or something equivalent in the next one. So everybody's really in tune with what they're supposed to do. I think it's just honestly good people management is what they're best at. But yeah, asset flipping, they're going to be using the Hawaii, they're using that literal map again, but I'm sure there's going to be things that make it kind of unique. And well, actually, the number one thing that makes it unique is you're playing with a different person, right? Majima's totally different personality, fighting style, all that stuff, how he'll react to things, totally different than what we get with Kiryu or Ichiban. So I'm impressed, but yet again, it's almost well, this isn't shocking, right? We kind of knew when they announced the game, it probably is coming out next year because they're just that fast and they're just that good with this. So I am very much ready for the end of February. February is freaking packed, but this is probably my number one game coming out now in February. Maybe not my number one game coming out in 2025. It's a stacked year, but I'm going to be getting this thing day one. So let me know what you guys think. I'll keep you guys updated on any news on this game as we get closer and closer. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next one.